Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 Quick Match gameplay. This time around we are playing as the Dark Elves against the Forces of Chaos on map Kharybdiss. So, without further ado, let's hop in, and this build that I brought is definitely a little bit trollish to say the least. For my lord, we do have Malekith on a Velociraptor, so nothing too unusual there, that's for sure. He is, of course, decent in melee. He's got some armor, he's got a bronze shields, mobile, Destroyer, which is a great debuff. He's got Chill Wind, Power of Darkness, Word of Pain, and Soul Stealer, as well as Gaze of Malice, which can be okay even against Chaos, especially against their cheaper, squishy troops, as well as Spiteful Conjuration, which is great against the heavy Chaos troops. The rest of this build is definitely a little bit troll, and so we didn't really bring much shooting. We only brought the Reaper Bolt Thrower here. It is backed by a single unit of spears. You can see I was anticipating and was not disappointed by my opponent in this. He brought the Soul of Damnation. This is something all too common in this matchup. I guess it makes some sense. It does counter heavy infantry, which is what Dark Elves can bring, and they tend to bring very infantry heavy comps. So definitely something you have to be wary of. And so to anticipate and preclude that, I did bring a Reaper Bolt Thrower, and you can see it's been deployed here in the front with the spears on some high ground where I was hoping it could get good shots in on a Hell Cannon if it was brought up. For the rest of my army, we do have Slaanesh Harvesters out on the flank. These guys were one of my only anti-skirmishing units. In retrospect, probably not the best idea. I should have probably brought more light cavalry, but oh well, hindsight's 2020. They are backed by this main force of my army. Well, I guess they're not backed by it, but my main force is back here. You can see the infantry hidden behind the berm, the two Kharybdiss just sitting here chilling. Look at them, these beautiful little beasties. So I decided to go a little bit trollish and figured, you know what, if my opponent goes large, we'll go larger still. And so we brought two Kharybdiss, and they are backed by two Target Executioners and then the Blades of the Blood Queen. So figuring that between the debuffs on the Slaanesh Harvesters, the debuffs on Malekith, and the monster stats on the Kharybdiss themselves, and the leadership debuffs and all that, I should be able to take pretty easily on Chaos's troops. For my opponent's build, interesting take, I would say. In some ways, pretty conventional. He did bring Star Thorel, not a bad choice, just because Star Thorel is pretty tanky against missiles. Dark Elves do have good access to missiles. He's actually brought most of his spells. He's got Transmutation of Lead, Gehenna's Golden Hounds, Plague of Rust, Searing Doom, so just no Glittering Robe or no Final Transmutation. He does have Metal Shifting, Scroll of Leeching, and Arcane Conduit. So he actually got Arcane Conduit, and I do believe the last patch, which made him a much more viable caster. Star Thorel himself, though, is not the greatest melee combatant. He does have okay melee stats, but he has terrible armor, no physical resistances, no AP. So he's in many ways comparable to, say, Orion as far as his survivability goes in close quarters. In fact, even in mobility, the only thing is he doesn't do as much damage as Orion, but really in many ways he's comparable to Orion, I think, as far as how well he'll survive in melee. For his front line, my opponent did bring a mix of Chaos Warriors Great Weapons, a single unit of Chaos Marauders over there because he needed to go a little cheaper there. Some Chaos Warriors Halberds to protect against large, Chaos Marauders with Great Weapons, once again cutting down costs, Chaos Spawn, and Chaos Trolls. So going rather wide despite investing in some elite troops here. You can see the Soul of Damnation, which is already firing away at Malekith, and then 3 units of Marauder Horsemasters. So these guys are very strong. Definitely not a bad unit. You can see here they're chipping away at the Slaanesh Harvesters immediately, and there's not much I can do about this because I just don't have the tools to shut them down. You can see they immediately pick off 2 models, and then they're pushing in, and I don't have the tools to zone them off. Now, big mistake. Now, this was bad of me. I should have brought, honestly, more Dark Riders, some shooting, a second Bolt Thrower. I could have tried to cut costs somewhere. I didn't. And so the end result is these guys are able to get basically unmolested damage in on these Slaanesh Harvesters, pushing in. I do hit them, these guys, though, with a Chill Wind, which is actually going to slow some of them. It's going to make it impossible or near impossible for them to escape. We do hit them with a Soul Stealer, trying to keep my good old Slaanesh Harvesters alive and well as we close in. And it's going to be picking off a few models at least, so we'll get some damage in. You can see the Slaanesh Harvesters getting that charge in, and they're going to come in with their cotton candy attacks. They jab one of those guys in the back, and now he's slowed, and these guys aren't going to be able to escape just because they've been poisoned. That's one of the cool things. Now, Slaanesh Harvesters are really good against squishy infantry, squishy cavalry. They hit like trucks. They've got 45 damage, which is really high for light cav. And so, against something like Marauder Horsemasters, especially once Malekith gets in there, they're in for a world of pain. On the other flank, you can see the Reaper Bolt Thrower definitely getting shut down a good bit by my opponent's Hell Cannon, but it is landing hit after hit on the Soul of Damnation here, and eventually it's going to be able to, chip away. Now my opponent here getting a little angry, pushing forward with Star Thorel, perhaps hoping to get some magic damage on it, doing well there. I I should note that over here we actually route the Marauder Horsemasters. We're going to be able to push one unit off the map, but these 2 units are just going to keep pressuring me, and I'm not really able to close the gap. You can see the poor Horsemasters getting wrecked. We do clip these Marauder Horsemasters, but Malekith is too slow, and the Salacious Harvesters are just getting pounded into the dust, but we do manage to rout off these Horsemasters. In the back here, the Bolt Thrower is still exchanging fire with the Soul of Damnation, which you can see is losing HP at a prodigious rate. One of the big problems with Hell Cannons is they're really bad at artillery dueling. Any artillery, or any single shot sort of artillery like Reaper Bolt Throwers, they're like Skaven artillery essentially is what they compare to. Any sort of single shot artillery, any Reaper Bolt Throwers, any Hell Cannons, anything like that will destroy them. Over here, Malekith is covering the retreat of the Salacious Harvesters, who lost a huge amount of HP, and they honestly can't at this point recover. Malekith, though, does have 110 armor. He's got bronze shields. If we look at him all over, he's really actually pretty freaking tanky, even against missiles. He's got that 110 armor, which Horsemasters don't have, of course, AP, or much AP. He's got 20% physical resist and 15% missile resist. So these 2 more Horsemasters are going to be throwing javelin after javelin at him, not doing too much. And they are fairly expensive cav. They got 750, I do believe, so definitely not the cheapest investment. Now my opponent here, very wise sort of decision, jumps in with Sarthorael. He's going to do quite a bit of damage, picks off quite a few models on this Bolt Thrower. He's down to 4 models, which I think is only enough to man 1 gun, and tear out the crew. So well played there. Now my opponent here, if we look at losses, it's probably fairly even. He's lost the Soul of Damnation, essentially completely. The crew's irrelevant once fighting breaks down. So it's like 1,500 gold taken off the field, about 2,250 taken off the field. In turn, I've lost most of my Salacious Harvesters and most of my Reaper Bolt Throwers. So all things considered, we're probably looking at me losing about 1,000 gold worth of stuff. My Bolt Thrower will be able to probably come back online. It's only been routed once. And over here, poor Malekith still being chipped away at, but he does have Soul Stealer, so all this damage, while it's nice for my opponent to get some chip damage in, I'm going to be able to heal up most of it if push comes to shove. In the worst case, I can always hide with Malekith in the middle of my troops. I do try to get a Gaze of Malice in there, but it doesn't really do anything. You can see Malekith here down to only on 1 kill, so nothing fancy. Sarthorael getting a little greedy, but 2 Kharybdiss are going to have some words with him, and he really decides not to stick around, so he's going to pull back and really doesn't want to be fighting these guys. Kharybdiss aren't fast enough to catch him. He's got 60 speed. He's definitely very mobile, but on the flip side, there's not much he can do about these guys. Now, the Salacious Harvester, you can see I'm pulling him away. I don't want to... These guys still have all their spells, or their 2 bound Words of Pain, so I really don't want to be wasting that, or losing it before this engagement happens. So these Marauder Horsemasters, I'm pulling away from them just so they can't chip away. And you can see I'm pulling Malekith in, trying to zone them off, and trying to make sure they waste all their ammo. And once again, gambling on the fact that Soul Stealer will give me the ability to come back. And you can see the Bolt Thrower now. It's single gun. It's coming online. You can see it's only got 1 kill this whole game because the artillery piece doesn't count as a kill. And it's going to start doing some work. Now it gets bombarded immediately. It takes quite a beating. And it's actually, I do believe, going to rout here, which is sad. So they tried. They got 1 shot off before routing. 3 crew there just can't stand it. So Malekith here pulling away very rapidly. These Marauder Horsemasters basically out of ammo, 3 and 4, so they really don't have the ammo to deal with my bomb here. And now you can see I'm pulling the Salacious Harvesters back, pulling my Harkeneth Executioners in, Spearmen pushing in, the Kharybdiss isn't going in, and Malekith is coming in. So the crew here actually rallies once again, so we'll be able to try to remount. And we push in, so the Harkeneth Executioners immediately tearing through the Chaos Marauders, the Blades of the Blood Queen pushing in. Now the big problem is going to be over here, where my opponent disrupts the charge a bit with Chaos Spawn, and although Harkeneth Executioners would normally dumpster Chaos Warriors with halberds, or with great weapons, they're actually going to get between the Chaos Spawn and the Chaos Marauders. My opponent is just overloading me so hard here. Sarthorael, I'm not going to be able to hold, so this is going to be a bit of a disaster. But on this flank, Soul Stealer comes down. You can see Malekith spiking incredibly quickly in health. Gets hit by Soul Leeching, but you know what, it doesn't really matter too much. You can see the Kharybdiss in there. He's going to start, it does have that passive -8 leadership, which is going to be disastrous for, say, these Chaos Trolls. You can see they're getting completely destroyed. So even, normally the Kharybdiss would absolutely, just because it's got 500 weapon strength, anti-large, it's just a monster. Obviously, just look at it, it's beastly. Oh my goodness, look at it spewing blue flames or whatever. But now it's going to completely destroy these trolls. They're going to rout. You can see where the Salacious Harvesters, who were just a second ago zoning away these Horsemasters, are going to push through, going to go pursue these troops. They're very low on models, but you know, they can still do pressure. And my opponent, now things, although they look pretty good, things are not quite over yet. You can see my opponent still does have 2 Horsemasters here on some HP, and these guys are okay in melee. Not on the level of, say, Salacious Harvesters, but on the level of, say, Dark Riders or Illyrian Reavers. They're comparable. But, you know, my opponent does still have some good troops here. He's got some Chaos Marauders. I'm not really able to pursue because I need to immediately engage this pocket. But you can see the Blades of the Blood Queen, very healthy. They've got that decent melee defense. We're just tearing through these guys. You can see Chaos Spawn here melting, the Soul Damnation there falling apart. My opponent does get the bombardment in there, trying to get some value in, but you can see the Kharybdiss here is going to start paying its dividends, really. You can see the Chaos March is going to terror out. That constant -8 leadership, it's applying, plus the fear, plus the terror, it's having an effect. You can see the Chaos Warriors routing. Chaos Spawn is left alone against Kharybdiss. Malekith, you can see Malekith here pushing in against Big Bird, and Sorthorel really, like we discussed, is not great in melee. So Chaos Warriors are going to rout. Chaos Spawn is going to get demolished, and now Sorthorel is alone against 2 Kharybdiss. Now Kharybdiss don't have great melee defense, so Sorthorel, and they don't have great armor, so Sorthorel will do some damage, but getting hit for 500 plus HP, a hit, is not where Big Bird wants to be. So you can see over there my Slunches Harvester zoning out these Chaos Warriors and Halberds. And at this point, my opponent is actually going to decide to GG out. You can see I was using the spears to zone these guys away. He could have dealt with those spears, honestly, but really there was not much way to escape with Big Bird there. And now that his army was scattered, it would be fairly easy pickings for the Kharybdiss Terror Squad. So, good game to my opponent. Definitely some mistakes on my part. I really should have brought a second bolt thrower or something to zone off shooting. I got very greedy, and unfortunately I had a little bit of an annoying notification there, but got very greedy, and so I didn't really bring the materials I needed to shut down this much harass. And you really need something. I really couldn't afford to let these guys whittle down my Kharybdiss. If they'd done that, I could have been in very deep trouble in that game. That could have put me in a very bad spot. If I hadn't brought any light cav, I would have been in a terrible spot probably, because these guys would have definitely picked apart at least one Kharybdiss, possibly both, and that would have been game. As for the rest of it, it's kind of viable. Honestly, in retrospect, I'd definitely try to get cram in one more. Maybe Dark Riders, trade the Dread Spears for Dark Riders, something like that. Not really sure where I'd cut corners, but definitely some cut corners needed to be cut. Somewhere. Maybe I didn't. Honestly, 2 Kharybdiss is a bit overkill. I probably could have gotten away with one and a then Cold One Knights, and then say another Bolt Thrower. That would put me in a much better spot. I would have been able to kill the Soul Damnation quicker and then focus out the Marauder Horsemasters probably. Regardless, it was a lot of fun, and that's really what this build was all about. Just trying to make 2 Kharybdiss, bring them in, have some ludicrous terror routing fun. So for my opponent's build, not bad. Definitely, I think a bit of a lack. Now, definitely a lack of sort of powerhouse front line. The mix of Trolls and Chaos Spawn in there is not a terrible idea, but really, I think you'd be better off just going a little meatier with on the infantry, bring more Chaos Warriors to great weapons, and then try to get the Marauder Horsemasters in a position where they can deal with the Kharybdiss. Had my opponent, rather than wasting all his shots on Malekith, I don't think Malekith, normally, unless you get a super great opportunity where you surround your opponent with, say, Kolek and some Chaos Knights or something, don't bother trying to snipe Malekith or Marathi. Thanks to Soul Stealer, they're basically guaranteed to get a lot of their HP back. They're very hard to kill for good. So, unless you get a great sniping situation, I wouldn't bother wasting, say, great poke damage that could be used much better on a Kharybdiss on Malekith. Ultimately, my opponent's build did have the tools to deal with Malekith, where it didn't have the tools really to deal with the Kharybdiss. So definitely something to keep in mind. If you see your opponent, definitely my opponent could probably reposition his Marauder Horsemasters behind his line, try to get more damage in on the Kharybdiss as I came in, because once I killed the Soul of Damnation, it was essentially going to be just straight push in. The Reaper Bolt Thrower got routed pretty quick. There was no artillery on either side, no real shooting on either side besides these Marauder Horsemasters. So really, if my opponent had been able to pick apart the Kharybdiss, that would have put him in a strong spot. Regardless, though, good game to Christian here. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe below. If you have any comments, any criticism, any questions, anything like that, be sure to share them, and I will respond as soon as I can. As usual, guys, I do appreciate you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.